We're on episode 9 of season 1 of Are You Afraid of the Dark? And this is another Betty Ann story. She told one last time too. Man, this girl is getting a lot of screen time. And while her stories tend to be very violent and bloody ones, and gory, as they mentioned here, this is actually a fantasy story. Though it does have some darker moments, some good chase scenes, and a good villain that you just don't see enough. So we have our main character, Dean Burkham, who's played by Matthew Mackie, who's in the movie Little Man, and Michael in the Peanut Butter Solution, and has done some voiceover and motion capture for video games. And he's just your average kid in 1992, complete with the parted hair and preppy look. The first thing I noticed about this episode is that the characters are a lot older. In every other episode so far, main characters and their friends are 12 years old. They're always around 12. Almost about to hit puberty, but haven't quite got there. But here we got an actual teenager in high school. That looks to be about 16 years old. And the entire cast is like this. It's almost like this is from a different series. And this episode has a way different feel than the other ones as well. First of all, it's shot in a school. It's completely on location. There aren't sets. And they have complete control of this school. You see them run throughout the hallways, go to class, go to an area with an abandoned pool, go to the boiler room. They have many scenes in here where Dean is running throughout this school. And the story is more mature too. There's not too many goofy setups or false alarms where the main character will put a whoopee cushion underneath his sister and laugh or something like that, which they do in other episodes. So it does stick out, even though I don't think it's the best episode. It does stick out as being more mature, having an older cast, and not falling into very much goofiness. I would really like to know the history of why they decided to do it like this, but I'm happy that they did. So Dean has a friend named Alex, and they're in world cultures class together, and they get a visit from an archaeologist by the name of Dr. Oliver, who shows them golden daggers and talks about sacrifices. Once again, a bit edgier than you would usually get, talking about cutting people's hearts out and holding it up to the sun and going golly ma. And then she shows them a Babylonian solid gold staff with the head of a cobra with his mouth wide open, almost too wide open. She says that it belonged to a evil Babylonian sorcerer named Goth. Yeah, that's Goth. Goth. They kind of say it like Gaw. A sorcerer who likes enslaving people around them and making them his minions, which is exactly what he's going to do to our main character, Dean. He doesn't want to be average anymore. He wants to be a bad boy.
Prepare the cauldron.
Cauldron will be prepared.
And we see the first instance of this when he's going to take a test. And instead, dude, this guy's bad. He's a badass. Right as the test starts, he crumples it up in his hands. He flicks his proverbial cigarette out the window, goes up to the teacher and says, hey, give me an A+. And using the power of Goth, he gets an A+. And once Dean gets a hold of this staff, we see him start recruiting other kids. This has a large cast. Not only do we see a full classroom of extras, he begins recruiting 5 or 6 other kids to be in this cult where they're going to bring back Goth. And they start a seance in the boiler room of the school. Alex stumbles upon this seance, realizing that there's something that's been changing about her friend Dean. He's being much meaner to people and becoming power hungry, and she's going to put a stop to this. At this point, we just see the sorcerer Goth as a disembodied head, but we'll get to see his whole body at the end. And we get a nice chase scene where they chase her throughout the entire school and end up in this empty pool. She even then tries to go to her teacher of world cultures, Dr. Oliver, and goes, please, something's happened with Dean. I think he has a staff. And you go, oh, I know what's going to happen. This teacher was in on it the entire time. She's been charmed by Goth too. In fact, every person she seems to run into at this school is under Goth's spell and is one of his minions that grabs her and drags her into this pool area where they pour acid into the pool and they're going to throw her in. Then we get the final appearance of Goth himself, and it's a very effective scene. He rises out of this pool and he looks Middle Eastern, as opposed to the character that's playing him, Stephen R. Hart, who's not Middle Eastern. He is very tall though. And we saw Stephen R. Hart in my coverage of Fear Itself. He was the main villain in the episode Eater. He's freakishly tall, over 7 feet, and ethnically ambiguous. So at this point he's playing a Middle Eastern guy. Usually he plays a Native American, or just a white dude, or a trucker. He can basically do anything. He's like the male version of Maya Rudolph. And man, I wish we'd seen this monster more. We see him rise up. He looks very cool, and the way that they shoot it, he gets closer and closer to the camera, and you see more and more of what he actually looks like. as this Babylonian sorcerer, looking like something out of the Brendan Fraser movie, The Mummy. But Alex is too smart. She hits the chlorine into the pool, and he bubbles down. And the Sorcerer's Apprentice is very interesting. I'm not sure how often we're going to see older casts like this in this series. I know the next couple episodes we're back to the 12-year-olds, but I'm happy to throw one to the high school teenagers. And I think this one is definitely worth watching. And we have some fun facts here. I've noticed in the first season they're constantly messing with the intro of this series. Sometimes they'll show the creepy boat in the water, sometimes they won't, sometimes they'll show a clock hand. This one, it excludes background music and shows the hand with the match slide into view before it disappeared, replaced by lightning in the title, rather than showing the hand with the match that lights itself. Yeah, and they constantly mess with how this campfire is being lit or what they throw on it. Seems like they're still finding their footing. And here's a list of actors that will appear in other episodes. It's a series in Canada, so they constantly reuse actors. Matthew McKay, main character Dean, is going to appear in The Tale of the Prom Queen in a couple episodes. The teacher is going to appear in the episode of the Zombie Dice, and one of the mini revivals, which we will be covering. We're covering every single episode of Tales from the Dark Side, even when they reboot it. Let's read one review. This person gave it an 8 out of 10. Scepters and Sorcery in High School. Tale by Betty Ann. 2 Betty Ann tales in a row. They noticed that too. They gave her a chance to redeem herself from the Nightly Neighbors very quickly. Oh, that's harsh. I like the Nightly Neighbors episode. I also forgot that she had also done the Clown episode, which might be the best episode of the series. So she really doesn't need to redeem herself necessarily, but I'm glad she did. Yeah, Betty Ann did Tale of Laughing in the Dark episode 2. This episode was a lot of fun with some ancient sorcery, fantasy, shenanigans. The next one features that too. In a 90s high school setting. As it goes with this show, it's got its cheesy dialogue, and it's a little over-explainy, but the vibes were on point. The different sections within the school, the lockers, the boiler room. I wish my high school had an extremely big and creepy boiler room. Did it? Probably. You just didn't do enough snooping around your high school. I ran cross country, which started at 3 p.m., so it gave me 45 minutes to do absolutely nothing from when school ended to when cross country started. So I explored every part of the school, including the secret room in the library no one knew about. The abandoned pool room. My school didn't have a pool, mine either, but there is a prank played on freshmen that there's a pool on the 3rd floor. How would that even be possible? There was also a lot of cool green fog. Well, you could technically put a pool on the 3rd floor. There's apartments that have it on the roof. Oh, and not to mention the Cobra Scepter. What a neat little prop. Alex was really bad at being sneaky and knocked something down every time she went snooping, resulting in her getting chased. She really needed to learn how to snoop, maybe from Snoopy. Alex and Dean's, I think I'm trying to say Alex, but that's probably autocorrect. Alex and Dean's friendship was cute, so hopefully we get a sequel. Alex was sneaking around the boiler room and constantly hitting things, and then getting chased, and then hitting things again and getting chased. So, good observation. She was quite clumsy, because the director said so. Next up is episode 10, The Tale of Jake and the Leprechaun. The first episode, I would say, I actually don't like very much, because you get so many crazy Irish accents. Everyone's talking in an Irish accent, and it's a stage play that makes you believe it's real, but it's not real. You do get to see some little people, though. That's cool. Check out our playlist for all the other series that we've covered. Tales from the Dark Side, Monsters, Fear Itself, Black Mirror, Mystery Science Theater 3000, Cowboy Bebop, and Pet Shop of Horrors. Thanks a lot.